Hello, guys. Welcome to our first ever podcast. We are the Street Food Kings, and this is the Betamax podcast. Now, I'm sure you guys are wondering why we call it Betamax. So, some of you guys who would know, some of you guys who are from the Philippines, Betamax is a kind of street food, and coming from where what our name is, Street Food Kings. That's why we chose that name. But yeah, for others, Betamax is the cassette tapes, or well, not cassette, but the VCR tapes before the VHS. So we just like to play around with the words and whatnot, and we particularly again relating it to the street food Betamax. This is our very first podcast. We just want to talk about the OP10 meta, how it's affecting OP09, and we'd like to first, of course, introduce ourselves. My name is CJ. I've experienced with a couple of TCGs, mainly Magic the Gathering, but I did start with Pokemon. Way back when I was in high school. I started playing One Piece back in the OP05 meta, so a bit late to be honest. I still play a lot of RPGs and whatnot, but very much in love with One Piece because of God Oda. As much as everyone else knows. Yeah, let's go to the rest of the members.
Hi everyone, I'm Christian and I previously played Yu-Gi-Oh! I started playing One Piece ever since the game was created. I have went through from ST01 and OP01 until the latest set, OP10.
Jed, what about you?
Hello, I'm Eldred. I started playing back in OP05, a bit late also. My first club game was Yu-Gi-Oh! And then also played Legends of Runeterra.
Oh yeah. There's Legends of Runeterra. Yeah, that's also
I'm the editor
great
of the
game.
team. Then Milex.
Hi, I'm Milexan, your average yellow enjoyer, yellow deck enjoyer in STFK. A bit of background, I am an avid enjoyer of TCG, digital TCG like Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra. I've also played Gwent, if I'm not mistaken, the Witcher card game. Usually what you'll see I use is yellow decks, so be on the lookout for that.
And then we have JL.
Hello guys, my name is JL. I've started playing One Piece since OP01 and I've started playing Kaido Leader and now I'm planning to use Blackbeard and Shanks for OP010. That's all for me.
Awesome. And Echo, last but not the least.
Hi everyone. I previously played Magic the Gathering card game and Pokemon card. I started playing One Piece a year ago with CJ. The deck will I be using this OP10 is Red Green Smoker and Blackbeard.
But yeah, we're the Street Food Kings, STFK. Don't mistake us for Seafood Kings. Though, of course, that's where we normally derive the name because we saw their team, and we thought of what we are to, or what we wanted to do as a team as well. So I guess just to brief background again, why Street Food Kings? Because before we even started playing, the local game store we play in has a street full of street food behind it. So that's where we like to really hang out before. That's why we thought of the name. But anyway, yeah, we're here to talk about the OP09, OP10 meta. Technically, how both will affect each other's growth. Because so the listeners in this podcast can be the users who are already on the OP10 leaders or the OP09 leaders leading to OP10. I guess let's first discuss the impact of OP10 versus the OP9 meta, or at least how it affects the OP09 meta. We sort of saw when did the Ace, the 10 cost Ace come out? Was it OP07 or OP08? Was it
I think it's
OP7?
OP7.
OP07? And at the time, we weren't really seeing a lot of boss cards, right? Before that, I mean, Enel was around since OP05. It's just that when OP07 came along and the horrible card was printed,
You
to the
really
death
did that
of
word.
to the death of Whitebeard. Then we started to see like a lot of gameplay shift into like boss card geared gameplay. Like you survive early rounds, and then towards the end of the game, you just really start piling up on boss cards. I think in terms of OP09, we're starting to see a lot of that coming from other colors aside from yellow, because we have Shanks coming in, a lot of boss cards. Of course, there's Blackbeard, right? There's Luffy, right? Both black, purple, and purple. The other decks still are very aggressive from the onset, but nowadays a lot of the popular decks really have a lot of boss cards towards the end of the game. So, what about you guys? What do you guys think? Did OP9 offer to the existing meta game?
Aside from those decks playing with big boss cards. I think one of the leaders that dominated the meta also was Doffy, the blue Doflamingo deck, which caters the gameplay of swarming your four cost characters.
Very
And
fast, no? Very fast
yeah,
too.
yeah,
That-
and
that point.
it's very consistent due to the
Mhm.
release of ST17, which gave really huge support for the deck now. It topped most of the tournaments during the OP09 meta.
Agreed, because it was really too fast for the meta at the beginning when people haven't really figured out how to play against it.
In addition to that, the 2 cost speech drop, it also
Right.
changed how Doffy decks work.
For me, Doffy is the really the tier 1 deck because Doffy can do anything. They can defend, they can block, they can attack, they can do aggressive things, they can remove boss card, any card, they can remove anything on the board.
while also having many draws.
Yeah.
It was still having a lot of that. So yeah, I also agree that the Flamingo, at least for OP09, is a very, very versatile deck.
Also, during the OP09, the OP05 Monkey D. Luffy Purple Leader was also really buffed due to the event and the new cards
Oh yeah,
coming
the
from both ST19 and OP09 as well. Also, I would like to talk about the one cost event that provided more consistency on the deck. Imagine gaining 4k power during the battle and then drawing 2 cards after you discard 1 card. You also filtered your hand.
and you piss off your opponent too.
Yeah.
Not to the detriment of the deck. Also very easy to use, right? So it's very easy to maneuver where you want to go. And not to mention it's Luffy, right? Luffy's main character of the game. Let's go to Teach, right? 'Cause it's super, super strong. Super, super strong. The deck makes sure that there's no on-play effects that the opponent can play. Well, you too, but it doesn't matter because your cards are meant not to be played on play anyway. JL, because he technically mains the Blackbeard deck.
As a Blackbeard player, it's more on consistency for the deck, and because it have 12 searchers and Blackbeard deck have stage for continuous search for the boss cards and the tech card of itself. And then I think Blackbeard is super strong in late game.
What's some of the weaknesses, JL, do you think of Blackbeard?
The main weakness of Blackbird is more on rush and swarm decks. P. Luffy is the main
Lucy's
counter.
one, yeah.
There are some rogue decks like Zoro and Foxy that can defeat Blackbeard as well.
So what do you think? How do you think is Blackbeard faring in OP10?
The new cards from OP010 have big impact for making Blackbird in the tier 1 this season because of the Kusan 5 and 6 cost liberation. And Blackbird decks is now more versatile against other meta leaders like Doppy, P. Luffy, and Shanks.
So technically, what the card did is it's now able to access its own graveyard, much like how Luchi used to do it. The main weakness of Blackbeard is the lack of hand cards. But imagine if you have your whole trash technically as your library because you can access it with Kuzan. Just for everybody's information, JL almost did not put the card in the deck because it was a dead card. not until we tested it. It was super, super strong. Andrew, are you ready now? Are you ready to talk about your pet deck, Mr. Dofi? Are you there?
Oh, hello. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Mabuhay.
Well, okay. So yeah. Can you tell us a bit on why you think Dofi? Because we already mentioned that Dofi was at least one of the top decks in OP09. So let's start with the OP09 meta. So why Dofi OP1 Dofi was the top deck in OP09? Would you think so?
For its consistency, of course, even though Doffy has a couple of bad matchups, it has tools or tech cards
Right.
that can, counter or to
Yeah.
even the matchups against, bad matchups.
Was there like a bad matchup in OP09 that you thought of? I mean, I'm already thinking of something.
For me, a couple actually, like Luchi, Enel, BY Luffy. Not actually a one-sided matchup, but still winnable. Even though it's unfavorable matchups, it's still winnable.
It's not like OP, like it's not like you can't beat it. You still can. It's just that it's very, very consistent. Is the deck still okay, Adri? And again, for a lot of our viewers who are just jumping in for OP10, is Doffy good for OP10? What is he weak against? What do you think?
This early in OP10, it seems that Doffy is still thriving, But I'm really expecting for the usage of Doffy to lower down because of leaders like Usopp, Blackbeard with Kuzan and Liberation, and also the reemergence of Enel,
Right.
past flagship in Japan. So that's why I already switched to Lim. So in preparation for that.
Let's jump into Purple Luffy. Right. So like we got our Luffy enjoys on here. You want to start with it, Christian?
You have 4 cost Zoro Juro, which 6k body, and also you have Sangoro, which is a 5 cost body, 6k power. Makes you draw a card when you have 8 or more dons on your board. Also, you have the new secret rare Luffy, which allows you to draw one card, then it gains rush. Though I think removal was not in the options for the build.
Right.
Um,
I think that's one of the weaknesses
yep.
of the new build. Not much removal.
Yes, and you only have the option to play either maybe Big Mom 9 or Kaido 9 as well. I think the hardest matchup for OP09 with Purple Luffy was Doflamingo as well, because when you can counter the first 7k, Doffy might just drop you the pudding and then you go back to 5 cards.
So how do you think it fares, Christian, in the OP10 meta?
For OP10, I guess there's not much when it comes to changes in build. There are much more aggressive decks in this meta. So,
Right.
especially with the appearance of Green Smoker, 5 cost, and new removal decks like Caesar.
All right. So let's move on to Black Yellow Luffy. I think Alged, our BY Luffy main here, has some things to say about it. So how do you think OPM9 is treating BY Luffy?
I think BY Luffy is really strong in OP9 because it has good matchup with Blue Doflamingo. Even though Blue Doflamingo has many cards to counter it, like Red Rock, Gravity Blade, or Pudding, somehow BY Luffy still managed to win. Maybe
I think
because
it's able to remove some of the smaller bodies with Egghead Luffy. What about for other matchups, Alged? What do you think?
for other matches, I think it's really how you play in the moment. You need to set up your trash. You need to think if your opponent is aggressive or not attacking you, because your play will depends on that. If you manage to pull up your life combo and set up Moria while still having a lot of hand cards, you'll easily win the match.
Right. And I'd like to add because I've played a lot of practice games with Elgid in terms of again how to fight or play against BY Luffy, and it's a common thing for a lot of us, or especially when you're new to play against BY Luffy. You just really you don't really attack it, right? You don't really attack it and let it stay for 4 life because you don't want it to execute its combo. The danger in that is, the deck can actually just go all in on an attack every turn because it has 4 life, right? Keeps on hitting you 8k, 9k. So I guess one tip that we have for you guys is try and take at least 1 to 2 lives from the BY Luffy and just see how they react because that will depend on what they're holding in their hand, right? So you'll see if they need to play 2k counters to get the combo going. So don't just fall into that trap of not attacking because you just get bombarded with all in 8k, 9k, 10k attacks and that'll be really detrimental for you. How do you think does it fare in OP10?
It really depends on how many players will use Blackbeard. Because
Right, because it's still Blackbeard that's keeping the deck at bay, because uh, Moria being vanilla, right?
not only Moria, but the fact that you can take your own life with your 2k counters, it's really hard. You have to use
Yeah, that's true because there's no on play for your 2k counters as well. Yeah,
And Sabo can even protect your characters as well.
yes.
yeah, because of liberation from
Yes.
Blackbeard. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. What can you do then if that's the case, LJ? So how do you compete against Blackbeard or at least any other deck in OP10?
Generally, I do stock at least one Loopy 5 costs, the one that's put your life into trash, because his activate main, you can use it to make your life 0 and then heal. And then stock a lot of blockers, because Blackbird don't really have a way to deal with blockers late game because they have to summon their Blackbird 10. And don't use the combo, don't use kits to heal to buff your leader, because it's not gonna affect anything anyway. Just heal to 2 life, then summon a blocker and an attacker, and then that's how you win against blocker. So you have 2
I mean,
lives, no 5 costs.
right. I mean, it doesn't sound easy, right? What you're talking about, but it's something that again is something you can do to still win the matchup. We have your resident Luchi
Luchi
main here,
enjoyer.
yeah, Luchi enjoyer, part of the Luchi gang. So we have Echo here. How do you think is Luchi faring in OPO9?
He's still good in terms of
Mhm.
removing stuffs, but the ban from the stage is really hit them hard.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of builds using the Uta,
The
the black
Uta, yes,
Uta.
yes,
Does
they
that
use the
does that
Uta.
matter? Did it make sense?
It helped Luchi players a lot, but
Mm.
still the consistency of the -2 is still not there.
Yeah.
Is it-
Plus, the trigger from the stage card was also
Yeah,
something that was very good. But in terms of the OPO9 leaders, so how does it fare? Because I think with Dofi, it's still good, right? It's against Dofi,
yeah,
it's good.
they can still win on Doffy.
Shanks definitely.
Shanks,
I've seen it. Not unless I guess the Shanks has ace, five ace in it. But again,
yeah,
the consistency can be affected. Um,
Blackbeard.
Yeah. How
If
about
they
Blackbeard?
have, if they
Blackbeard is the
have,
real issue.
like, they need at least three Kaido in the deck to remove the Blackbeard drop.
If they have Kaido, do they effectively remove Jack? Is that how the build works, or
Yes, they can remove Jack.
because they'll be changing it with Kaido? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What about in OP10? Well, how do you think
OP10.
Luchi is fair? Because
Hmm.
I'm seeing a decrease in numbers, but I still see some people play or get top spots for Luchi. But in your own opinion, you playing Luchi in a lot of instances.
I think they need to put the Sabo, 8 cost Sabo, so they can
Uh,
remove stuffs
there's
more.
Lim, there's well, yeah,
Lim,
with Usopp at least. Oh, that makes a lot of
Usopp,
sense.
Smoker.
Smoker, gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a bit of the re-emergence of Enel. But let's stick to OPO9. Let's talk about OPO10 a bit. But how did you feel an Enel main and Kata main for OPO9? How
So because of Blackbeard, I literally changed into a different color deck since Blackbeard killed all of yellow decks.
right?
In exception to Blackbeard. NL against Black Yellow Luffy, Purple Luffy, Doflamingo. I am pretty confident on playing against them since I have lots of triggers.
Triggers.
Kikunojo, Onami, Egghead Nami against Black Yellow Luffy. I think the key card for those is Katakuri 8 since
Mhm.
you can just bottom life Moria, and
Right.
once you do that, some BY Luffy except Elged, since he's the master in BY Luffy, doesn't know how to play around those. The only way I see to play around those is the 5 cost Luffy. Yeah. And for against Purple Luffy, I think it's just a fairly matched lineup since Swarm of Purple Luffy brings down Enel's life into one
Mhm.
quickly. But the benefit of that is allowing Enel decks to use Raigo at an
Right.
early stage.
Right.
So Enel just takes and takes and takes.
Right.
So
And Enel's removal characters are also can also remove around 5 cost, which are the
Mhm.
most commonly used by Purple Luffy.
yeah, pretty
Right.
crucial. Sangoro, Zorojuro, those characters.
Let's talk about OP10. So, because we're seeing like a really big reemergence from NL. I've seen a lot of games, and I think the last championship in Japan, NL was. Correct me if I'm wrong. NL was top one. Crazy trigger there, but yeah. So, what do you think?
The only thing I see different here is they have the down punk electromagnetic cannon
The
where
new one
it KOs.
from Kid, right? The
Yeah,
Kid deck
from the
supposedly.
kid package. It KOs 5 or less. Using that is kinda crucial. You will check your life, your top life, and
You'll be able to see it.
if it's a zero cost, automatic you will put it on the bottom.
And I'm seeing a lot of builds too playing the new Hawkins. And I really loved how it synergizes with the deck because the trigger is draw to trash one,
Yep.
if I remember correctly. So again, a lot of drawing power for the Enel deck. So and and you wouldn't want to remove the character as early as you can too because it's gonna trash your life. So for me, something that really adds power to the deck. But why do you think people that are starting to play Enel again, considering that Blackbeard players are not stopping from using Blackbeard. Why do you think so?
Yellow decks are pretty easy to use since it's cost manipulation, and the leader effect is very beginner friendly since you have to be attacked for at least 3 before losing.
No, but that makes a lot of sense, Jan. I wouldn't play yellow. This is just for everyone. I haven't played yellow ever. I probably consider trying on play tests. But anyway, yeah, let's go to Shanks. No, so it's my pet deck for OP09 as along with JL who also uses the deck. So how do I think OP09 fared for Shanks? So it was just Shanks all the way. The first first 2 weeks of OP09, everybody was on Shanks. That's why I didn't play Shanks at first because I was like, I don't want mirrors during the start of the meta. But why was it that a lot of people were picking up Shanks? Because very easy to use, very for me because I came from playing Whitebeard up to OP07. Uh, yeah, it's like you're playing Whitebeard, but you're not losing life every turn. So still a very tough deck because of the 1K leader ability. So it's a very I guess at least in my opinion, the first iterations of the deck, a lot of it were pushed for the rush version, with Zoros and dragons, because it's red. It's meant to be played like that. I only started playing Shanks when I started to saw the builds come up, like more of the control builds, right, with the Whitebeard sevens, the utilizing the snakes, and at the time, of course, I've always thought that, oh, okay, so this is how you play Shanks. It's a red deck, but it's a control, but it's a control deck that's capable of doing rush and removing through power. So I'm very much in love with control decks. And when I realized it had a somewhat good matchup with Dofi, yeah, I opted to play the deck at the time. Of course, the number one deck that it was really having a hard time against was Blackbeard. Ugh. Especially when you're a full-on control build, you just die from Blackbeard. Not unless, of course, you put in some tech cards here and there. But I found that it wasn't enough if you don't go to specific level to really fight off a Blackbeard deck. The hard part is when you start to build versus Blackbeard, and then you encounter a Dofi deck in the tourney, and then you get slammed because now you don't have removal. So that's how I thought OP09 played a lot for Shanks. How about you, JL? Because you also have a lot of experience with Shanks and OP09.
In last prelims, they built Shanks Awaken to counter Blackbird itself.
Right. They call that Wicked Shanks because it has a. Actually, speaking into that, sorry to cut you off, JL. I just wanted to add more into this. Remember, I was talking about in OP09, Shanks mainly had a build, so it's either you're a rush build or you're a control build. I mean, some of the players made it like a hybrid build, which I did too. But here in OP10, they've come up with a build where it can actually go. You can actually fight against Blackbeard pretty well. Still not, it's still not like you can't beat Blackbeard every time, but it still has a better chance, and you can still fight off other swarm decks, right? Like Dofi or P-Luffy. So it's a build wherein they put back like a full set of dragons on there. There's Ace 5 from the ST, the Whitebeard ST. The Red Hawk event is on there. And of course the new Kamusari event, the Divine Departure event is on there, which helps the deck remove any 8k power characters. So again, adds more to a bit of the control-y but defensive power of the deck because it also counts as a 3k event counter, right? So the deck actually became more balanced for OP10. So still a very very good choice for a deck in OP10. But yeah, that's pretty much it, at least for the OP09 leaders.